We're still on quadratics, guys. Yes, we are. So we're going to look at something that's taking us a little bit further. We've been talking about zeros, and we've been talking about just finding the zeros of a quadratic. Especially on a graph, we look at the x-intercepts. When we use factoring, we're trying to find the roots. Remember, zero product property, so we're just trying to solve an equation to see where the parabola crosses at the x-axis. Well, this is no different. It's just another method. And this method always works. Always, always, always. So there's a couple of key ideas that I need you to remember. One, can solve for the zeros, roots, solutions, x-intercepts by using the quadratic formula. Using the quadratic formula, you use it when a quadratic equation is not factorable. In other words, we've learned how to factor, we've learned how to factor by grouping, we've learned how to factor by using the greatest common factor, and sometimes you get combinations that just do not work. So this is something that you will explore further when you get to Algebra 2, when we start talking about imaginary roots versus real roots. Now, real roots is where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. An imaginary root would be, you still have a quadratic, but it's hanging out in a quadrant, like this. And I don't want to talk to you without you seeing the picture. So if I drew a quadratic like this, where the quadratic crosses the x-axis, those are called real roots. However, if I were to draw a quadratic up here, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have roots. What it means is that the roots are imaginary. So this is definitely when quadratic formula can be helpful. So let's just go right on into it after I remind you of two more things. Before you use the quadratic formula, you always have to make sure that the equation is in standard form, where ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And you can never have the a term as 0. The quadratic formula is written below. Now, if you really understand what this is, it's two parts broken up. If you look right here, this negative b over 2a, that's the first part of your vertex. If you look under the radical, this is something that we have not discussed, but it's called the determinant. And the determinant tells you how many zeros there are. So I'm just going to do a little crash course right here. If the determinant is, let's say, if you do this, b squared minus 4ac, and that is less than 0, then you have no real roots. I'm just going to abbreviate that. No real roots. If your determinant is equal to 0, then you have one real root. If your determinant is greater than 0, then you have two real roots. So the quadratic formula is not some things that are just thrown together. It's giving you what you need just in a different form. So let's finally get to the math. So the first thing what we're going to do is identify our A, a B, and a C. So A here is 4, B is negative 4, and C is also negative 4. Then we're going to substitute all of these values inside of our formula. So we have x is equal to the opposite of the b term. Remember that. Just like when we were using the axis of symmetry, we always said the b term was opposite of what we saw. So opposite of the b term is 4. Now this plus or minus is telling us we're going to have two roots. So at the end, you'll see why we have to have a plus or a minus. Then we're going to do b squared, which is negative 4 squared minus, yes, this 4 always stays here. A is 4 and c is negative 4. All of that, and what this is telling me is I need to write smaller, 2 times 4. And I got that from right here. So now we're going to do all of the math under the radical. So negative 4 squared is 16. Now notice this, I have negative 4 times positive 4, which is negative 16. Negative 16 times negative 4 is positive 64. All of this over 2 times 4, which is 8. We got to keep going. X is equal to 4 plus or minus. Well, what is 16 plus 64? That's a very good question. I think it's 80. Yeah, 80 over 8. Now, if we were in regular, no, I don't want to say regular. If we were in algebra 2, we would go ahead and break this down into what's perfect, what's not perfect. But here's what you're going to do in algebra 1. I'm going to bring up, I'm going to minimize the screen, and I'm going to use Desmos, the calculator Desmos, okay? It has a scientific calculator, and so that's what we're going to use. All right, as you can see here, I have the Desmos calculator. Give me just a moment. Okay, there we go. And all you're going to do is notice my URL here is desmos.com/scientific. So over here on the right, I have a fraction bar. I'm simply going to use that fraction bar, and I'm only going to type this part, but let me show you how. Remember I said that there's 2 zeros? This is where the plus and minus comes into play. So the first one I'm going to do is 4 plus the square root of 80 divided by 8. And that gives me 1.618, but I believe on, let's go ahead and just round it to the hundredths place. So I'm going to leave the 6 alone. The 1 is in the hundredths place. We're going to take the 8 and round it. So the 8 makes this 1 become a 2. So 1.62. Now, what we're going to do next is, remember we said there's 2 roots? Well, that's the positive root, or what we got as because we added. Let's change this, and we're going to say now minus. I think we're going to have to do it again. Okay, so we're gonna see if, nope, I thought it might let us copy it. It doesn't. So we're going to now go 4 minus the square root of 80 over 8. Oops. And this is our second root. So it's x is equal to negative 0.618, so 0.62. And that is how you do it. Okay, now that one took me a little bit long because I was talking through it. Now that you have seen me do this, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the next ones. So first, determine your A, B, and C, or make sure it's in standard form, which it is. So A is 6, B is negative 9, and there is no C, so we're going to put 0. And then we've got X is equal to, well, the opposite of the B term is 9, plus or minus the square root of, or B squared, that's negative 9 squared minus 4 times 6 times 0 all over 2 times 6. Okay, so now we have x is equal to 9 plus or minus, well, the square root, not the square root, negative 9 squared is 81. And any set of numbers times 0 is just 0. So this is negative 4 times positive 6 gives me negative 24, but that doesn't matter because I have a 0 right here. So this would be minus 0 all over 12. Well, then we have x is equal to 9 plus 9 divided by 12. Now what I did was I went ahead and took the square root of 81 because I already know what that is. It's 9. Our second 0 is going to be x equals this 9 minus 9 over 12. So x is equal to, let's see, 18 over 12. That's 1.5. And here 9 minus 9 is 0. And 0 divided by 12 is 0. Now I kind of did that fast because I wanted to show you something. Okay, we could use our Desmos calculator, and once we got to this part, we could put it in, and that would be fine. That's what I did over here, right? But what would happen if we put this whole thing in? Hopefully we should get this answer. So that's what I'm going to try. We'll see if it works. So I've got 9, and I'm going to do the plus first. The square root of, okay, be careful. Make sure you use your parentheses correctly. Parentheses, negative 9, close the parentheses, square it, minus 4, parentheses, 6, close the parentheses, open parentheses, 0, close the parentheses. Okay? Down here, we're going to put 2 parentheses 6 because we know that means multiplication. And look at our answer, 1.5. So technically, you could do this as long as you know where all the numbers go, then you could do this as well. I would like you very much to know the process, and I would like you very much to be able to do this because it's going to come in handy. But if you do have a scientific calculator, you're certainly welcome to do it this way as well. All right, let's see. I wish it would just let us copy it. I don't think it does. Oh, I'm gonna try again. Oh, I don't know what that was. Okay, go back. Probably everything's gone. Yeah. So just know that you'll have to type it again. Sorry guys, don't know what to tell you. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, we've got negative 8 minus 9d minus 2. So let's determine A is negative 8, B is negative 9, C is negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and set it up, but I'm going to go ahead and use the calculator because I don't want this video to be extremely long, which it can be when you're doing quadratic formula. So here's my hint, guys. This should not take you 5 minutes to do. If I look on our practice and you've done this in 5 minutes, that's going to tell me you really didn't do it. All right, so x is equal to opposite of the b term, which is 9, plus or minus the square root of 9, or negative 9, I'm sorry, squared minus 4 times negative 8 times negative 2, all divided by 2 times negative 8. So I've got x is equal to 9 plus or minus 81. Now notice how all of these are negatives. That means that whatever this result is, I'm going to have to subtract. Because negative 4 times negative 8 is positive 32. Positive 32 times negative 32, positive 32 times negative 2, that's what I was trying to say, is negative 64. So we're going to have to subtract 64 all over negative 16. Whew. So x is equal to 9 plus or minus 64 from 81 is, I want to say 17. I think it's 17. Now you certainly don't want to be trying to do this. So let's go ahead and put it in our calculator the long way. Okay, so we're going to put our division bar 9, and then we're going to start with our plus the square root of parentheses negative 9, close the parentheses and square it, minus 4 parentheses, a is negative 8, close your parentheses, and your c was negative 2. Again, close your parentheses. All of that divided by 2 times negative 8. Close your parentheses. And here's our answer. That's 1, 0. So it's negative 0. We're rounding to the hundredths place, so 0.82. Now let's do the other one. Looks like this video is going to be long. I wish there was. I'm going to try it. Okay, well. Why? I know I keep trying it, right? You're like, Miss Clark, stop it already. Okay. If you figure out how to copy that, would you tell us all in Google Classroom, please? So it's 9 minus the square root of. It's not like the Inspire where you could just highlight and copy. Wouldn't that just be wonderful right now? And then minus 4. So notice nothing about this changed other than this plus and minus right here. So be real careful with that, guys, because if you don't pay attention to your signs, you're definitely going to end up with a wrong answer and you'll be frustrated because IXL will keep telling you it's wrong. So the other 0 is at negative 0.30. All right, let's do the final one. So, first off, this is supposed to be written in standard form. It's not. So we got to put it in standard form. So we're going to say, I'm going to move everything over to the right side. I'm sorry, to the left side. You could leave it on the right side if you wanted to. I just don't want to have a negative a. And that's just preference. So I'm going to add 3t squared and add 2. So that leaves this side to 0. But now it becomes 3t squared minus 7t plus 2. So I added 3t squared over here and I added 2. Now, a is equal to 3, b is equal to negative 7, and c is equal to 2. So x is equal to the opposite of the b term, which is 7, plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 2. All of that divided by 2 times 3. Now this time, I'm just going to put it in the calculator, because as you can see, I'm running out of room. So 7 plus the square root of parentheses first, negative 7, close parentheses, squared, minus 4, parentheses, times 3, close your parentheses, times 2, close your parentheses, all of that divided by 2 parentheses 3. And that gives us 2. So x is equal to 2. That's the first x. Let's do the second x. So again, we go 7. Oops, there we go. We need the question mark. 7. Parentheses -7 squared minus 4. I'm just going to see if anything happens if we use a dot. It means the same thing, so we should not be getting anything wrong if we use the times button here as opposed to the parentheses. So our second zero is 5.83. Did I say our second parentheses? I meant our second zero is 5.83. Guys, I've been talking all day and it's been a very long day. So go ahead and try the your turn, guys. I know it seems like it's long, but trust me, you'll want to do this so that you have the practice in doing it. Please don't skip it. Thanks. All right, so here are the answers to the now it's your turn. You do see a lot of work there, right? So when you're doing this, if I ask it for on paper, this is what I need to see. Yes, you may calculate it with a calculator to make sure that you don't mess up, your numbers or get mixed up or turn them around. However, I need to be able to see that you are fluid and fluent with being able to put the numbers in the right place. So, hey guys, I'll talk to you later. If you need help, please let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.